behind the Skills Initiative in Kentucky. With that being said, I would like to turn it over to our panelists and give them a short introduction of their company and the programs that they represent.
Hello, my name is Maisel. Good morning. Short introduction to Kostal. Kostal is a typical German family-owned mid-sized company. We are in the automotive, and as such, we are pretty also international. So Kostal has 26, 27 locations in 17, 18 countries. We have many manufacturing sites. And because of the family run, we have probably 2 billion euro turnover annually. And because of the family principle, one of our major rules is, of course, sustainability. It's not only that the business should be handed over from generation to the other. It's also that the company should exist in a couple of years from now, because Kostal is already 102 years old. So very successful in the past. And when we look forward to the automotive industry, this is also a very interesting environment. Everybody knows about what we have been through in 2009. The interesting in that industry is normally you have a customer, you have a company, and the company has well, at least many other customers. Sometimes thousands, sometimes millions. We in the supplier industry in automotive, we don't. So we have just a couple of customers worldwide. We have probably 10, 11 OEMs, and that's it. And when you look into the infrastructure or how the supplier industry is organized, you have not a couple of big companies. There are big companies like Elfi, like Denso, like Bosch, but you have thousands of smaller and mid-sized companies in the entire supplier industry. So we have 10,000 of companies looking to a couple of 10, 11, 12 customers. And this, of course, brings us to another problem. And coming back to the 2009, where we went through, what has been happened in Michigan was through all the problems with our customers. We had 2 companies in Chapter 11, Chrysler and GM. And we had to let go many people, and also very skilled talent. Those people went to other states, found employment, and they never came back. Now we have a very steep upswing in the industry, and we would need exactly those kind of labors. But they are not there. And what we normally do, we play some variant of musical chairs. The request is immediate. We call some recruiting firms, and they call other companies. And what we do, we don't create more jobs. We just redistributed jobs. And then after a while, I lose people to other companies, and the other companies lose the people to me. But in the end, on the long term, musical chairs, at least there's one winner. In our game, there's none. And this is what we really felt, and this was finally the reason why we said we, as mid-sized companies, and we are not large enough so that we can really afford creating our own structure, our own infrastructure, like Volkswagen can do, or like Siemens can do. So we have to rely on a consortium of the industry, and team up and said, okay, but in that consortium, we are big enough, we can create our structure, we can create our curriculum, we can define what we really need, and then team up with the state and team up with the community colleges and other partners, really to create an initiative, what we currently call MET Square, Michigan Advanced Technician Training. That's why the 2 is coming, the square is coming from. And of course, try to establish a program to fit our needs. And just to give you a little bit on history, we started early 2012. The ideas reached back already to 2008. We had a vocational training workshop with the chamber in Chicago, the German-American chamber in Chicago. We had a lot of response. Yeah, and then we created some ideas. I talked to some of my colleagues. Everybody was very much in favor of such an initiative, but nobody really was thinking about who makes the first step. And then another good event happened that the governor went to Germany, looked into the apprenticeship program in Germany, and then it really happened. I talked to the governor, I made a petition, we teamed up with the other industry, and the whole thing started. And this is now our experience over 1.5 years. We started last September with 31 students. We had 2 cohorts teamed up with 2 community colleges. And we started with 4 companies, 4 German companies. During the course of 2012 and the spring of 2013, we were able really to expand the company base from originally 4 to now 11. Yeah, and even for the now new coming term for the next cohort, where we start again in September, we are already 31 companies. And we started out with one direction. We said we want to establish the mechatronics program. This was where all the automotive companies had the most need. And also that we benefited from some initiatives we already had here in the States. This is how the whole thing started.
Thank you, Walter. Yeah. I think we're going to dive in a little closer into the program. Steve, I think your story is about the same, but 20 years ago is when your program started. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Steve Rotman. I'm with Ameritech Die and Mold. Everyone's talked about small companies. I'm going to win that prize. We're 25 employees. The neat thing is that we supply molds around the world. We're shipping Volkswagen passenger airbag to Brazil. We're shipping a Ford driver side airbag to India and at the end of this month. So small businesses do impact manufacturing in a huge, I talk about the megaphone. We're at the bottom of the megaphone. The jobs and impact that it brings to manufacturing and the economy is huge where it goes from there. So just a small introduction there. In 1995, we were struggling with an apprenticeship program in North Carolina. I had moved down to North Carolina from Grand Rapids, Michigan, a very strong industrial manufacturing area. One of the biggest hurdles we had going to Charlotte was lack of skilled trades, lack of any knowledge of skilled trades. High school shop classes were failing and starting to be missing on the horizon. So we were really struggling trying to find students, trying to find interest, trying to find the right caliber of students. The North Carolina Department of Labor person that we were dealing with introduced me to Bloom and Detweiler, 2 companies that Austrian and from Switzerland. And they were also struggling with the same issue, but they had come up with a plan to start a high school apprenticeship program, a very unique program. When they laid it out to me, and at that time we were 17 employees, I about choked first and thought, how can you invest that kind of time and effort and money into trying to find these students? But because we had failed so miserably for 10 years and just had no success at all, I spoke with a few people at the shop and we decided to go ahead and try it. And the whole unique part of Apprenticeship 2000 is we start in 11th grade. There's a couple reasons that we do. When we go into 11th grade, we have a chance to attract students to come in and look at the program and seek out whether they even would like it or get a hands-on approach. If they decided that they didn't want to, then they still didn't ruin their chance of going on to college or some other type of curriculum. So we could sell the program easier to parents, to the students, to the teachers. A lot of teachers were at that time struggling with manufacturing. If you remember in 1995, this was before the free trade agreements really kicked in, the world free trade agreements, manufacturing in America was very distasteful. It was not looked upon as a career of choice by educators, by parents, and students just didn't even know what it was. So we had a big hurdle to overcome there. We came together, we went through high schools, we talked to educators, we had meetings with them. We tried to explain to them the advanced manufacturing that we were trying to give to the students and the great jobs that they would have. Today, 40% of our employees came through Apprenticeship 2000. Our lead engineer, designer, is 30 years old. He started in the program in 1999. I would put him up against anyone in the world in designing molds, tool maker, 5-axis machining. He went through everything through the shop. So apprenticeships bring so much value to the company because from the bottom up, you're training, you're teaching, you're creating a mantra through the shop of people continually trying to improve their skills, trying to give back to the students that are coming up through the ranks below them. And the level of energy that we get out of the apprenticeship program is immeasurable. And it's exciting to be around. It's exciting to see their enthusiasm. Our average age on the shop floor is 31 years old. We're a 29-year-old company. I am part of the American Mold Builders Association, and our place in the industry is very unique. Other shop owners have been trying to emulate what we're doing, and we are just fortunate that it happened to us as early as it did in 1995. We're that much ahead of the curve. So Apprenticeship 2000 has a website. It's apprenticeship2000.com. If you want to look at that, that gives you a lot of information about what we do and who we are. One other thing I would like to mention is there's a great, everyone's talking about high school shop classes. There's a Cardinal Manufacturing up in Elvestrom Central High School in Wisconsin. And there's a shop teacher there that came in, and of course they didn't have a lot of money to buy equipment. He got manufacturing people to donate equipment, stuff that they weren't using, a little bit outdated. And he started a concept and actually is making product and selling it using high school students. And they're selling it to the local manufacturing companies. And it's actually driving the class to be able to have money to buy equipment for the future years. They've improved immensely. Again, it's Cardinal Manufacturing. I encourage you to look it up. It's a great model for high schools rather than us reinventing trying to buy equipment, trying to put money in without getting any return. It's a great learning tool for the students because they're learning business at the same time. They have to quote the jobs, they have to do invoicing, they have to do everything that a business would do inside that high school, and it's a super successful program in high school. So,
Thank you, Steve. Elfi, they didn't have the product to train on. That was your cue. You're a service provider to these programs. So Festo Didactic just announced their training lab with CPCC. Tell us about Festo Didactic and what your programs are about.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very pleased to be here this morning, and of course I'm even more pleased to have signed this letter of intent together with the Central Piedmont Community College this morning. So this will be another effort of our company to bring best practice models together with an academic partner here in the United States. And of course I'm looking forward to having more such strategic partnerships in the years to come as we are going to engage ourselves on a larger scale here in the US. Well, Festo Didactic is part of the Festo Group. The Festo Group is a leading company in the field of automation technology, and the Festo Didactic company is a world market leader in technical education. So on one hand, automation technology, which is reflecting modern technologies, modern manufacturing. We are talking about Industry 4.0, And on the other hand, the educational part of the company, both parts are part of our corporate DNA. And I think we know on one hand very good the demand side, which is the industry. We are serving around 300,000 customers around the world in industry field. And on the other hand, we are very well acquainted with the technical education. So this is a big asset of our company, which we would like to bring to your market, because US is a very important market for us. It's a key market. And of course, we are also since 30 years here in the United States, represented in the Long Island area with our headquarters, but of course with several offices around the whole country. So what we would like to do in the years to come is to link up in strategic partnerships when it comes to training, when it comes to qualification in technical training. Our core business is always production technologies. So this is, we are focusing on that industry sector. And Festo, being a component supplier, being a solution provider for about 200 different industries globally, that means we have to prepare also our customers and the customers of our customers for tomorrow. Because if you have a lot of innovations, and we have about 100 innovations per year, that means if we want to put that into application, we have to train our workforce for tomorrow. This is why workforce development is very crucial for us. I think we come to the next questions for the what we want to go to do here further, right? As an
Josh,
introduction.
besides me needing those Kentucky Derby tickets, which we'll talk about later, the Secretary Pritzker said we're all responsible to qualify our workforce and train them. What does Kentucky do to train their workforce?
Well, the Secretary really laid the groundwork for what's going on in Kentucky, and it was very interesting, that project that she mentioned with EVIS, which is located in rural West Kentucky, really laid the groundwork for Kentucky going down the path of the Skills Initiative. I was fortunate enough to be one of the project managers that helped recruit EVIS, and we promised them that we would institute a system of dual track training in the area that they were locating. And the Secretary mentioned this morning some of the things that are happening with relationships between Murray State University and the universities that EVIS works with in Germany, creating partnerships and learning opportunities. But really what that project did was moved us down a path of dual track training. Kentucky is really a growing and booming automotive market. We have two of company representatives here today that are suppliers to the automotive market, with Kurt Krug with Inoac and then Peter Feil with Stober. But with Ford Motor Company's presence, Toyota, General Motors, Kentucky is, in terms of volume, the third largest automotive manufacturer in the country. And that continues to grow. We just received at the Toyota facility, Lexus is going to be producing its first North American model in Kentucky. So it's something that we have a strong manufacturing base, a strong manufacturing skill set, but something that not everyone automatically recognizes our state for. Because of that strong automotive presence, we've developed systems of training already. We knew they were out there, and what we went and did was, and the Secretary again alluded to this, Governor Beshear sent out letters to all of the major automotive manufacturers in the state, and that prompted us to have 6 roundtables throughout the state to learn about what the needs are, short-term and long-term for our manufacturers, and also learn about best practices. Of those 6 roundtables, we had about 180 manufacturers that participated. We learned a great deal. We learned that there were 2 primary best practices as well. One of them you heard about earlier, what is going on with Stober, that focuses on that small manufacturer, that in a small community. There are hundreds of manufacturers located in small towns like Maisel throughout Kentucky. We can use the model that Stober has created in those situations. The other model, which was right under our nose, and we knew about it, but we didn't really know the details, is called the Kentucky Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education. We're government. One thing we're good at is acronyms. That means that is Kentucky fame, and it's an industry partnership. It is anchored by Toyota in the Lexington region of Kentucky in about a 45-mile radius. It's made up of about 15 manufacturers. The goal of that industry partnership is to create career pathways to improve the skilled workforce. And they do that through a 2-year degree program called the Advanced Manufacturing Technician. In 2013, it was named the #1 career pathway model in the United States by the National Career Pathways Network. And what the simple format of that is that students are sponsored by the 15 participating companies. They work 3 days a week and they go to school 2 days a week on a simulated manufacturing floor that was just awarded $20 million to build a new facility. The construction on that training center will begin in the fall. But it's had some organic growth. Toyota really started this model for us back in 2012, but they soon realized that they needed to reach out to other manufacturers in their region. And so just kind of organically it has grown. In 2013, there were 4 participating companies and 15 students that graduated this past May. There were 6 company participants that graduated 22 students. And starting in the fall of this year, there are 15 participating companies with over 50 students who will be participating. They received 80 applications for the 50 openings from high school students. You know, this program, like I say, they go to school 2 days a week, 8 hours a day. They're trained in things like robotics, electromechanical maintenance, welding, 5S lean systems, and safety. They're also paid around $26,000 a year. The state has a scholarship program for graduating seniors that those individuals apply towards their tuition. There's no reason that when they graduate 2 years later with this degree program that they should have incurred any debt. They recruit from Project Lead the Way. They have very high standards for the caliber of students they recruit. They have to be Project Lead the Way students, which is primarily a pre-engineering program for high school that is now dipped down into the elementary school levels. And there are 115 school districts in Kentucky that have Project Lead the Way programs. These students also have to have at least a 25 on their ACT and a minimum 3.0 GPA in high school. So they've had a lot of success, and it's grown organically. What we want to do with these 2 models, with the Advanced Manufacturing Technician and what we call the Stober model, is duplicate them around the state. We're doing that. You will see in a year from now 4 additional industry partnerships like the one in Central Kentucky that represents about 50 companies. Some of those companies include GE, Ford, UPS, Mubia, ZF Steering, Bilstein, and others. We have taken the approach of being inclusive of all the companies in our state. NOAC, Kurt, I can't leave out their participation. They're drivers in this. You know, Peter mentioned something in his presentation about what is government's role, and we agree with him. Our role is to facilitate those conversations between companies and educational institutions to make sure that companies have what they need. We view the company as the client, and we're not trying to push a program on them. We're trying to help them find solutions for the needs that they have regarding the skilled workforce.
Thank you, Josh. Now you definitely owe me those derby tickets. My next question goes to the 2 representatives of MAT 2 and Apprenticeship 2000. So what do you do to actually attract your talent? There's a lot of stigma that still comes with manufacturing jobs, these training programs. And then on the other hand, when you recruit those talent, Aren't you scared that for $1 more, they're going to go across the street and all the efforts and money and time that you put into the training is going to go away? Walter?
Well, we have thought a lot, and we discussed exactly that question: can we attract enough talent? And we were very surprised in the first year, where we only had 20, in the beginning 25 open positions, and we had 200 people, 200 students who really applied for that program. The program itself is pretty attractive to the students because we pay for the tuitions. So it's half and half. In the first year, it's 60-40 split between academia and company-based training. Second is 50-50, and the third is 40-60. But we pay the tuition for the community colleges, and the students, they get an associated degree, and they get from us a 5 years contract. So that's really a commitment from both sides, the students and us. And the students, they get, while they're at the community colleges, some kind of pocket money, but while they're working for us, we pay them on an hourly basis. So from that, they're debt-free. They get an education for free. They get more or less a free ride from our side. And we also did, we call them roadshows. We went to the local high schools. We did company presentations, we did movies, we even had the governor addressing the students, et cetera, et cetera. So we did all kinds of PR, and the results are really very attractive. The other question is, coming to the second question, is how do we secure the right students? And very honestly, we want that the students, and I call it, we want to have the sub-college students. We want them to stay with us for a very long period of time. We train them for certain skills where our engineers should not work. And I made a very, by myself, an analysis because of having not enough engineers, but keeping them busy with, I call them sub-college work. So this is the perfect fit for those students, and this is why we want to attract a certain class of students who really don't want, now it's a little difficult to express that, don't want to go further in college. Our goal is really to keep them. If there are single students who want to advance, that's fine with us. We don't have a problem with that. But the goal is really that kind of group of students. The problem is how to find them. And we had in the first year selection, various interviews, various tests, et cetera, that didn't work out very well. In the second year, we tried a little bit different, and we were also very surprised about the different levels the students really are coming with us.
How many high schools are you working with for your program?
We are working with probably 20 high schools.
20 high schools?
Yeah, 20 high schools in the greater Detroit area.
And you have a non-compete with the other companies
Yeah,
in the program?
yeah.
Okay.
This is also very, we agreed upon, and we made sure that everything is legal, that we pay the same. So no company pays more. That was the kind of an agreement we had also with the state. And we said, okay, there is a non-compete and a non-solicit inside or in that period of 5 years. So I will not poach on students of other companies.
Steve, how do you recruit your talent in Charlotte?
It's a pretty big question, but every year in the fall, we have a luncheon with counselors, teacher counselors from all the area high schools that we visit, which is approximately 40 high schools. We have 8 partner companies in Apprenticeship 2000, so that covers a pretty big demographic area. But we have a luncheon, and we actually do a presentation. We do a tour of one of the companies. We offer them an invitation to visit any of the companies that are closer to their high school so that they can see firsthand who we are. After we have that open house with the counselors, then we actually go into math and CAD classes, and we make presentations to all these high schools. We invite the students to an open house that will happen about the end of January to the 1st of February. It always happens on a Saturday morning, and they have to bring a parent or a guardian with them. We want the interaction and the knowledge of the parent to understand what the program is about. Once they go through that open house, they have a choice to sign up for a 1-week shadowing, and they come after high school. These are 11th grade students, so they come for 1 week in the afternoon. We make a hands-on project. About 50% of the time is spent in a classroom environment. 50% of the time is out in the shop actually producing a part that they will take home that will have their name engraved on it that they made, that gives them some personal satisfaction. While they're making that project, we have mentors that are grading them on their ability, on their attentiveness. Every night they have to fill out a report of what they learned that day using key words that they've learned that we've taught them to try to understand if they comprehended what a file is, what a tap is, what a drill is. And we look at their attention to detail on their project. Part of their project has hand-type filings and radiuses and chamfers and things like that have to be done with a file, and we use different tools to measure them. Some students go through and they just hit it a couple times and they hand it back to you and they say they're done. Other students take care. They try to do a very fine job. They're detail-oriented, and just those little things we've learned that's a key person. That's a person that has that little bit of ability that we can broaden on and continue to expand. If after that week, we also test them with a psychological test. It takes about 2 hours, and at the end of that test, they have a choice. They've spent part of their time with 2 different partner companies that are close enough to their area high school. They get to choose which company they thought was a better fit. They might have liked the trainer better. They might have liked the type of product that the company does. We're all very unique in what we do. At the end of that week, whoever picks Ameritech, we have what we call a draft meeting. And whoever picks Ameritech, we get that stack of students first. Everyone gets their stack of students, and we pick the ones that we would like to take that have chosen us. If we have extras and they were good students, we put them in the center of the table, and anyone else in the partner meeting can ask about that student if they didn't pick up the students that they wanted. And it's a really win-win for the students and for the companies to fulfill all our positions. At that time, we offer that student a 6-week job in the summer. We just started our 2 students for the summer yesterday. They will come 2 days a week. They'll go to Central Piedmont Community College in Charlotte, and they will start their 2-year AS degree classes. Even though they're between 11th and 12th grade, these classes still go towards the 2-year AS degree that we give. The other 3 days, they come into the company, and we're actually going to build a small Frisbee mold for a company. It's one of our customers. They wanted a promotional gift to give to their people at a company picnic. So they asked us to make a Frisbee mold, so we're donating the Frisbee mold, and these students are going to build it. They've never seen a mold in their life. It's probably the neatest thing. They will go through every aspect of design, of building the mold, and then actually we'll run the mold in our facility, and we'll invite their parents to come down and watch while we run the mold. And what we have found in the past is the parent, I never thought the parents would show up in the middle of the week at a meeting like this because they're working, they're busy, but the students have gone home for 6 weeks and talked about this project that they're working on so much that the parents can't wait to see what this is. And they stand at the press, and the moms are carrying stacks of plastic parts out the door. And it's a very rewarding experience. I can't say enough. It's a big investment, but it really helps them. You talk about giving them value. You want them to feel like they want a scholarship. And you want them, you talk about keeping and retaining these students. You give them value. You give them value of themselves. And when they gravitate towards that, they look to the company as the person that gave that to them. So it's a real big issue with us to try to create that value to them and to give them confidence. After that 6 weeks, they have a choice and we have a choice. If those 2 choices come together, we sign them up for the apprenticeship program. We've spent 240 hours with these students before we ever sign them up. That's a key issue to finding out who that student is, what their level of commitment might be to this program, and to understand if they really have what it takes to become a mold maker and a tool maker. So.
Thank you, Steve. But what I think is also very unique about Apprenticeship 2000, and I don't know if you do it that way, I've been one of the meetings, and whenever you represent Apprenticeship 2000, you do not do it as a company,
No.
but as the brand Apprenticeship 2000, you do the same with,
Yeah,
with Matt
yeah.
too. Yeah, I think that, you know, raising the brand awareness of these programs,
Yep.
that helps tremendously.
Yep.
Elfi, we heard before it's a big country, the United States. So how does Festo plan on covering this country with your products and services?
Okay. Yeah, first of all, we are in this country for many years, as I mentioned before. We are in the educational field, emphasizing this over the past 10 years. We have about 300 educational customers already in place throughout the country. And of course, we want to enlarge those numbers. What we are looking for, besides our regular partnerships with community colleges and in-plant training centers, is also now with those kind of learning centers. We are looking for strategic partnerships in different regions involving all partners, industry, especially industry, because we are coming from industry, we are producing for industry, and we are training for industry. So industry is, of course, a key factor for us in different regions. Of course, we cannot cover all the whole country, so we would like to set some anchor points, and of course develop from those anchor points our portfolio. Our portfolio is based on 4 pillars, if I can say. It's the dual education apprenticeship model based on the German-style training. Of course, it's not a blueprint. We have heard this morning. And it cannot be a blueprint, so a 70% solution is a good start. The second pillar, and this is very crucial for us because we have the feeling that faculty training, teacher training, train the trainer, is a key topic to spread out the training through the country. So it's this is a key focus, teacher training in our partnership, and especially when we look here at the CPCC partnership, we will start to have a first teacher training in this summer already as a pilot project, and we didn't even do a lot of promotion, but the program was full very easily. So we have learned through this small project that there is a tremendous need to do this teacher training. And of course, further education. There's a lot of workforce out there which needs to be trained continuously. This is, I had a chance to visit a few companies here in the US during my last trip, and a lot of the company and plant managers told me that they have an immediate need to do the ongoing training for their workforce already in place. And last but not least, we want to do also industry consulting. That means to consult with the plant managers in the companies on how they can improve the ability of their workforce. So we have a whole portfolio what we are going to offer, starting out from several key areas, besides our regular business going on already in the United States.
Thank you. Josh, I mean, the topic is not new. It comes and goes in waves. I call it a tsunami right now. How do you make sure, how does Kentucky make sure that the programs that you just described are going to be sustainable? And going forward, how do you want to grow these, and where do you see, you know, the industry role in that as well?
Absolutely. Our goal in this is to be completely industry driven. But we also realize that as this grows, it's going to have to, this industry partnership is going to have to strengthen a little bit to be sustainable. Really, as it stands right now, the industry partnership has no paid staff. They really have no budget. They've been moving along with no money. We've used state resources to support them, but we're going to have to find a way to to strengthen that partnership, especially as it grows. So we're looking at ways right now to, this is going to need a staff to make it sustainable. Companies, I mean, our companies right now that are a part of Kentucky Fame say, I don't know how much longer we can be the go-to people for this, because they say we have our jobs to do, and no kidding, they spend 2 or 3 days a week, especially right now, going through on marketing and fundraising and recruitment. And so we're examining ways right now. Okay, we need to hire some staff. Does that mean, well, we are applying for grants to do that, but also do the industries pay into that as a way to make it sustainable going forward? I think that's an ongoing discussion that we're having right now, because we're at that breaking point that it has to be lifted from the plates of those who are carrying it right now and shifted somewhere else.
I would really like it up to the audience pretty soon. If it was a perfect world, Walter, what would be your one wish?
Well, one wish is that we have more or less.
Besides winning the World Cup.
Okay. Then that's 2 wishes. Okay. No, but the difficulties we have is really that we really speak with one voice. It is really difficult to get the industry together. When you are one company, it's easy. When you are 31 companies, it's a little bit more complicated. And then you have a second partner, which is the state, with their own interest. These are political interests. And then you have the community colleges. They want to sell something. And sometimes you have another party involved beside the students and the parents, which are also a very important part of the whole game. And really creating more or less one movement, creating one standard where we all can benefit. I cannot expect that it covers 100% of my needs. But at least I should have 70, 75, 80% for every company, and that would be a perfect fit, and that would be then also a perfect world.
Marketing, lifting the negative image is what we hear over and over.
Yeah.
Steve?
My one wish?
In the World Cup.
Because we've been a part of Apprenticeship 2000 for as long as we have, 19 years, I'm very happy with where we're at. I believe that the model program we have is very successful. It can be emulated. We've actually had a spinoff in Raleigh that just recently started this last year, NC TAP, and we also have a spinoff last year of Catawba. I believe that we went through the worst time in manufacturing and education that you ever could between 98 and 2006. If you went to a high school at that time and tried to convince an educator or a parent that they ought to send their students to a manufacturing site, you should have seen the look on their face. So we have come through probably one of the worst eras, I hope, that manufacturing ever experiences again. It's my heart, it's my passion, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me out of high school, and I want other students to experience that. It's not for everybody, but for those that really excel at it and really enjoy it, it's the best profession I could have ever taken. I was so fortunate to fall into it at 18, and I was in high school. I went through an apprenticeship. I think the apprenticeship program in the United States fell away during that exact same time that I'm talking about, because so many companies went down or went out of business, and all those excess employees became hires at these other companies that were still there. And so the apprenticeship programs just died because those companies could hire existing employees from other companies. They got caught up in that. We moved to a demographic area that just didn't have that kind of overflow, and so we had to establish this apprenticeship program, and we were very fortunate that we did. But you talk about investment, we're a 25-person company. Every year we're going to, I send a person to a bunch of high schools. We're building a mold. It would probably cost us somewhere around $20,000 to build that mold with these students this summer. I couldn't do without the apprenticeship program. The success of Ameritech Die and Mold, the future is our apprenticeship program. And my successors are on the floor today that will take over that company. I have a group of guys that I'm mentoring right now that are 29 and 32 years old, and they will be the next generation that owns Ameritech Die and Mold. I'm positive of that. So you have to. This is not a choice. If you don't now, it's going to get worse. And the one thing I am concerned about, and it was mentioned briefly here, I believe we're going to see recruitment people. You can get on LinkedIn, you can get on all these social media sites and get contacts from your company as they become engineers and become people that relate to your customers. And we are going to have a real battle keeping skilled people that we have spent a lot of time and effort into. I'm very concerned because I can see it happening right now. I got a blank email from a very large consumer company close by us. I don't want to say the name, but they're looking for an engineering position. And who knows if they got to my people. I'm guessing they did. It got to me. I was the owner of the company. I don't know what I would be doing on the list. But I am very concerned that we are going to see some huge rating of I've got Richard that's in design. Another 5 years, he's going to be 15 years in the trade. He's going to be prime for somebody to take and have another 20 years of future employment with. And I'm trying hard to figure out how to make that not happen.
Just
Sure.
one comment to second what Steve just said. What we figured out, the target group we have to convince is really the parents and the teachers, and not the students. We don't have a problem with the students. We show them what we are doing, and they are really stoned. They are really
true.
Yeah, they're really taken away. And but the teachers and the parents, they are the most critical.
Educating
Because
what's out
you're right.
there.
Because their image, what they have in their head about manufacturing, is absolutely obsolete. It's so outdated. It's 50 years back.
Agree.
Elfi, Festo Didactic's perfect world.
Festo Didactic's perfect world would be to have more ambassadors like my neighbor, because when he talks, he can really feel that he breathes apprenticeship. Second thing is time, because apprenticeship and education takes time, and people have to invest in time. And once they invest, they will see that this is training for a career. It's not training for a job. So time is a crucial factor in my opinion. And of course funding also, maybe to bring the stakeholders here in this country together and really adapt the funding to the learning, to the workplace learning, because I have the feeling a lot of this funding is maybe sometimes stuck into administration. So get the funding to the apprentices. This is one thing. And the other thing would be also the stigma, the parents and so on. And there is also in this country a wonderful association which is called the Skills US Association. They are doing skills competitions around the country. And I looked at their website here yesterday. They have vocational skills competitions going on. It's a world championship, by the way, also next year taking place in Brazil. So if you have the opportunity to go after the soccer game to Brazil in 2015, you should do this. But use an example like this. This is because it's a sport. It's a sporty event. It's like sports. Yeah, it's a competition, and you see the people filing. You see the people doing a lot of jobs. So it's helping to contribute to dissolve a little bit the stigma, a little bit, yeah.
Josh, Kentucky's perfect world.
I echo a lot of what's already been mentioned. One thing that we have right now is we have companies that want to be a part of this and participate. We have more student applications than there were spots for this coming semester. My organization's role is that facilitator role, and we really go, speaking the language of business and industry, and then going back and speaking the language of government. And I think some of our biggest challenges are having our colleagues in government to view the services that they provide as a product and not a program. Whether they're in community and technical colleges, whether they're with career centers around the state and education. It's to encourage them to be more efficient and deliver a higher quality product to our business and industry community.
Thank you, Josh. I do have a lot more questions, but I'm sure the audience does as well. So I would give the floor to the audience. Do we have a microphone? Right here. Michael.
Yes. This conference is about skills training in the advanced manufacturing sector in the context of the German model. I worry, however, that a word may have been overused, a single word that's probably the key word so far for the conference, and that is apprenticeships. If we fall into the trap that integration and adaptation of German training models and best practices is limited to the fairly traditional rigid apprenticeship model, Germanic style, I'm afraid that Peter Feil's prediction in the first panel is going to be correct. It won't work. A direct one-to-one importation and application of these Germanic apprenticeship models can work in certain cases, and we've seen that with MAT2 and with Apprenticeship 2000. However, we also learned in Charlotte that beyond Apprenticeship 2000, which were basically foreign-owned companies with one domestic exception, which has turned out remarkably well, these were companies that came from Germanic countries who insisted that they wanted to create exactly the model that they were accustomed to. We found out that there were other companies who wanted certain elements and certain aspects of the German model that they thought would work for them. And so we now have Apprenticeship Carolina, which has how many companies, Richard, working in it now? Six companies in that. And these are US companies who are taking bits and pieces of the traditional rigid model, adapting it to their own purposes and saying, we don't need somebody to be in an apprenticeship program for 4 years. We need this skill set for training that maybe takes a year or maybe 18 months or this sort of thing. And so it's very highly customized. And just pointing this out, it's just an observation that if we get wrapped up in making the German model in the American mind consistent and congruent with apprenticeship programs as they are practiced in the Germanic countries, we're going to have a problem, and we're going to encounter pushback and resistance and skepticism. It's very interesting. I paid very close attention to Ambassador Wittig in his opening remarks. You know the one word he never uttered? Apprenticeships. He used workplace learning and dual track models and this sort of thing. There are lots of ways that you can incorporate and adapt the German model and its various elements to the benefit of the United States without branding that process within the limitations, quite frankly, of the traditional apprenticeship program.
I have a question.
Thank you, Michael. But I think everyone here in the panel would
I have a
second that,
question.
that it's about taking the best parts of what works
Yeah.
and implement it into a system and just make it better. What,
I have a
Can
question.
I?
yeah, okay.
Go ahead. You know. Go ahead. Well, it is not about copy and paste. And it's not about having a wonderful German model and now we have to apply it to the United States. I'm completely with you, that will not work. We have here totally different tradition. We have a totally different environment and education system. We don't have 2 parties, we have 5 parties, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really complicated to do the copy and paste. What I would not agree is we need content. And particularly from the automotive industry, and what could happen, we all see that daily in the newspapers with GM with the recall. When you don't pay attention to the details and you are not trained for certain things. Yeah? And this is what we need to pay attention in the industry. And if then a curriculum fits 80% of what we also need, then I would take it. Yeah? But I don't have the Berufsschule, I don't have the kind of organization, I don't need that. I'm completely with that. And I think this is our focus, at least in MAT2, and this is why I'm fighting for that, is to take the content and all the help we can get, but we have to create something on our own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve?
Apprenticeship 2000 is, to me, so successful because every partner company We don't do anything the same. We build plastic injection molds, so it's very intense CNC. There's not another partner that has the type of CNCs that we do and the type of investment in CNC and CAD and things like that. At Detweiler, they have welding, they have electronics, they have machinists, and all we're using is the curriculum of Central Piedmont that we developed to get the AAS degree in mechatronics. And then the actual skills training is happening in the facilities, so the trainer and the employee are actually one-on-one. They're learning the skills that that company needs. It's very specific to that company. If I took a Detweiler employee of 10 years, they would not fit Ameritech. They would not be the skill set that I need. Even though they went through the same program, apprenticeship, that we are going through. Mold making, the qualification for a mold maker requires an apprenticeship. I don't know how you get away from that name. It's in the state of North Carolina. Machinist has an apprenticeship. Plumbing, electrical has apprenticeship. Any skilled training is called an apprenticeship. If that's a dirty word, I struggle with that because it's part of the state. But I do believe that that unique training is happening in the companies. And you talked about a 40-60 split and things like that. We consider 30% of our training coming from the community college. 70% of the training, of skilled training, is coming from the company. And it continues beyond the 4-year degrees. After 4 years, they are not a skilled, true skilled mold maker. It takes about 8 years for them to really mature and just really, it's like waking up and they know exactly how to build a mold. They can see things. They have the 3D mind and things like that. So that training continues on beyond the 4 years after that apprenticeship program stops. So.
I don't know who was first. The gentleman?
Ladies first.
He was,
Hi, I'm Jim Fody with the Office of Apprenticeship, and just wanted to, I'm actually a graduate of the apprenticeship program. I was in manufacturing. I used to make precious metal parts while I was in college, and it's more of a philosophy. I'm also a student of the German system, and of course you can't just transport en masse. It does not work. Just wanted to let you know that apprenticeships in the U.S., I mean, it could be as little as 1 year and as many as 6, so, and it's very very customizable based on the employer's needs. So it's much different than the German system. But I think one of the things that's interesting about I think the thing that we have to do most in the U.S., if we're going to transport something from Germany, it's the culture of learning in the workplace, okay? And that's what we need here. That's what German companies understand and American companies don't, typically. So I'm just going to ask just a flat-out question. What do you think is a most effective way at trying to get that, Einstellung or that mindset?
Let the American company answer.
yeah. It's just a matter of time because they're running out of time. I just went to a conference, Amerimold, up in Detroit last week. Biggest topic, workforce training. If you read any industry publication in manufacturing, there is an article on workforce training. They know it. The biggest thing that I feel is wrong is our American manufacturing looks either to government or to the Chamber of Commerce or somebody like that and says, give me the plan and I'll put it in place. And somebody else said it earlier today that industry needs to drive the training, and that's exactly what has to happen. They have to get hungry enough, they have to get desperate enough to decide to make the investment. And the sooner they do, the better off they will be. But the longer they go, the more desperate it will become. And those are the people I'm afraid of will just start raiding people. That is where some of that's going to happen. So I think it's out there, but the biggest issue with American companies is, I don't know how many of you have extra minutes in the day, but in manufacturing, we're 5 days behind every day. I mean, there's a customer who calls up, I need it faster, I need it faster, I need it faster. And it's so intense, it's so hard to stop and say, I can't do it this way. I have to do it the way we can and accomplish it, but still accomplish our goals of apprenticeship, training, and those kind of programs. It has to be your DNA.
I can have
I
one
th-
more question, Walter. Go real quick.
I think the time is ripe for that out of 3 different reasons. We learned in 2009 that we have to create tangible, I call it tangible GDP. We have to do something with our hands, so, and not just shuffling money from A to B. Second is, we have some social pressure, in particular in Southeast Michigan, we have high unemployment, youth unemployment in the Detroit area. So it's also a social issue what we have and can solve. And third is, by bringing back manufacturing, is not, I don't relocate manufacturing from Mexico. We have high technology, high requests, specialities. This is what we can bring back, and for that we need skilled workers.
Tom is very strict about the timing, so I'll take one more question from this lady over
Could I
here.
just ask very quickly, what do you see, the people that aren't selected in your cohorts, what are the skills, or either academic or technical, or the behaviors that are the deterrents for them being selected or hired? What are they lacking?
Math skills. The biggest thing that we have experienced is that the education system continues to lower the bar of what it takes to graduate. And so we've had to raise our GPA standard of the students that we accept. And we got a really tough education system that we've got to overcome, because the skill level that's needed to get into these advanced manufacturing jobs, whether it's Ameritech or this company in Michigan, it's intense. And probably the biggest thing is maturity, especially in our 11th grade. It's really hard. Students have been coddled by their parents. They've been given cars. They've been given things. I started working in a muck field when I was 13, crawling down the field, picking celery. I worked in a die-cast facility when I was 15 and shouldn't have been there, and knew I didn't want to do that anymore. So, I mean, I learned that I was going to have to work, and I was going to have to make a living. And as a parent, I've even had to fight it with my kids. I've had to make them go work at Chick-fil-A and work at the fast food, whether they needed the money or not. They needed the discipline of working for somebody and the maturity. So a lot of that's lacking. I know students that went through college and never worked a job that are friends with my kids, and that's just horrific. I mean, the parent thinks they're giving them a paycheck or a good ride. They are, but they're not learning anything. So it's terrible. That's the most difficult thing to overcome to me.
Well, thank you all for being here for this panel. Thank you, our panel participants. I think Tom's going to take it over.
Okay, I'd like to invite you all to have a light lunch,
Paycheck
which
for
is
children.
available.